Yo, 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 good people. Welcome to the HerbMan
Yo,
Show.
good people, it's your homie HerbMan, busting you back upside the head with another hot banger boogie. Welcome to all of you guys. If this is your first time tuning in to the HerbMan Show, welcome. Go ahead and hit that logo right at the bottom of your screen right there. And don't forget to hit that notification page so that you never miss what we're bringing to the world, all right? So again, I am your resident herbalist. I'm your homie HerbMan, all right? So I want to talk to you guys today, and I want to expound a little bit more on the subject matter of how climate really controls every single aspect of life when we're looking at the living organism, all right? So when you're looking at climate, climate controls the food, it controls the animals, it controls the plant life, it controls humans to a certain degree, okay? And so we have to understand how that climatic effect really helps us, and then also what it does to kind of hamper us in certain instances, okay? And so I've told you guys a lot about this. You can go look at some of my other videos that we talked about when we were talking about how climate controls everything in our environment, and not only understand it from an external means, but also understand your climate when we're talking about your internal environment, okay, and how conducive that is to cell life, all right, and to producing good cells. And producing good cells mean good tissues, mean good organs, mean good body systems, okay? And so we need to really learn how to create homeostasis between the internal environment and our external environment. I always look at it like how the HVAC systems work, all right? They take into account ambient temperature, and then they allow you also to set your set temperature inside of your home. And so when you're looking at that from a body standpoint, you also have a set point. Now, most of us, it should be 98.6. Some of us are walking around at 97.5. I mean, they've had plenty of studies that talk about how humans are getting colder. And so either way, that is the set point that you want to keep your body at. That's the efficiency where everything works, and mitochondria and all of these things really going to work in a very good environment, right? They're going to have this division, and they're going to build you up in the proper environment, and they're also going to be able to be catabolic in their action and break things down to smaller molecules in a certain environment. And again, that environment is normally 98.6 degrees, and if you're looking at weather in that particular perspective, then anytime it's 98.6 degrees in your neighborhood, in your community, in your part of the world, you consider that to be a hot day. And so we understand that we need to keep that hot temperature within in order to keep a proper consistency with how things break down and build up in the body, okay? And so understanding that, then we understand that climate means everything, okay? It means everything to every single thing, all the way down to the bacteria, the organism in itself, all right? So now, why is this so important? Because really, this video is about chronic kidney disease, right? And it's about how we get to that point. Now, the number one cause for CKD is hyperglycemia, right? Which means you have high blood sugar, meaning you have a high content of sugar in your blood, all right? And then the second one on that list, the second cause of CKD is going to be what they call high blood pressure or hypertension, okay? So that means that you're having high pressure in that same blood, okay? And a lot of this has to do with, in my personal opinion, I'm not a doctor, you guys, so you can go and talk to your doctors about any of this information that you get on this particular YouTube. But here's the thing. A lot of this has to do with being out of the proper climate. See, most of the time when you're looking at our ancestral buildup, we spend about 75 to 80% of our time outdoors. Now, when you look at the modern human, you're only spending about 5 to 10 maybe percent outdoors, all right? Now, when you're looking at outdoors, the heat plays a big part into making sure that you utilize, right? Because when you're out there in the heat and the type of work that we were doing, way before we were slaves, we was farmers, okay? And so when you're looking at that farm work, when you're looking at, walking down to the bodies of water, when you're looking at the hunter-gatherer and you're having to just be out in the elements long periods of times of the day, then you're also looking at that as being your exercise. So this wasn't necessarily about running for a purpose, but more just about being in the elements, walking and being out in the sub-Saharan desert will cause for you to break a sweat. We know that when we break a sweat, we lose sodium, okay? And so nowadays, you're not sweating, you're not exercising as much, so you're not losing as much sodium, but the sodium intake is at an all-time high, okay? So you're eating prepackaged foods, you're eating canned foods, you're eating potato chips and salt and vinegar, you're eating fried foods with this batter on it. All this stuff is going to raise your sodium levels, and you're not necessarily losing any of that sodium in the way we used to be able to do it, okay, or in the way that you can do it. And this is just purely through sweating activities. Put sodium out, and then you can put sodium back in because you're losing so much just simply off of your daily task. Okay, so right there is not only a cause, but it's also a remedy if you could start looking right into what we just said right there. All right, and so the next one is the high blood sugar levels. Well, again, your body needs glucose, right? In order for your cells to have the proper nutrients and everything that it needs, it's going to turn everything into sugar so that you can use that sugar as an energy source. But now here's the problem. If you put a lot of sugar in the body, but you don't use that sugar, then now that gets converted, all that excess get converted over into fat, okay? Now fat can be reconverted back into a sugar substance for your body to use as energy, but you must use it. So what is happening is there's an imbalance of energy intake versus energy expenditure, okay? So you need sodium, right? Because that is a part of the electrolytes. That's a part of the raw material that your mitochondria would need to make sure that everything is working properly in the body, okay? Your kidneys is going to try to handle the water to sodium balance, all right? So that's the thing, and you need that, but you also need to dispel certain amounts of it, right? So you can't have too much of it, otherwise it throws everything out of balance, okay? And here's the key. When your sodium and water, they're kind of magnetic with each other, right? So when you see you're having water retention, it's because you've also suffered from sodium retention, right? And so if you're suffering from sodium retention, the body instantly says retain water so that we can dilute the concentration of that sodium in the body, okay? So anytime you're seeing yourself with water retention, it should automatically kick on, not to go and try to run and get some Celtic salt, but to go and exercise and sweat it out and get that water out of the body. At the same time, when you're losing water, you're losing salt, okay? Okay? Now there is going to be a sodium reabsorption happening because again, you need that as a dichotomy of the raw material for your mitochondria. So your body gonna know how much sodium to retain and how much sodium to lose. But when you're in this sedentary mindset, this sedentary lifestyle, and you're constantly putting sodium in the body and you're not doing any kind of exercising, any kind of, and I mean exercising until you're breaking this sweat and allowing sodium to be dispelled, then you're really doing your health an injustice, you're doing your body an injustice, okay? So right there, you can kill two birds with one stone by understanding to exercise, all right? Now, when they take people out of their indigenous understanding of how this human anatomy works, this is going to make the human species under this newfound understanding a weaker specimen, okay? A weaker specimen. So when you're not outdoors all the time, that is one key factor. But then on top of that, now we're covering ourselves with clothes and all this type of stuff. So it's less and less sun energy, less and less heat energy getting into the areas of the body that it needs to get into. And this is really the ultimate fundamental cause for the demise, especially when we're looking at the minority community. All right. First of all, the melanin on the skin is already a great sun blocker, which means that you would need to be out in the sun far longer than some people with higher pigmentations, okay? And so this is what you got to understand. Now, because your sunscreen is so good and the fact that you're not out there in the sun enough, then this is why the rise of vitamin D deficiencies is so prevalent in the communities of minorities, okay? And so we got to understand why this body is made like this, why this design is like this, and then what is going to benefit the design. See, we never really understood when we came out of our indigenous climate what climate was really going to, what kind of effect the climate was really going to have as far as our gene is concerned at making us weaker individuals, okay? It's just like I was telling somebody earlier on the TikTok. If you put a lion in the jungle with a tiger, who's going to win, right? When you put them in the Amazon with a tiger, who's going to win? When you take that tiger out of the Amazon and put it in the sub-Saharan desert with the lion, who's going to win? Because the climate and knowing the terrain and understanding all these different aspects is going to play a part in who's the strongest species. So when you take a people out of their land, you're not just talking about reinventing food, form, and all this, but you're also talking about a climate that's conducive to them, okay? And so you say, well, what about the people that are still in their indigenous areas, still in their indigenous climates? They're also still suffering from high blood pressure and hyperglycemia. That's true. But again, what we're talking about is the advent of education, right? That's coming in and engineering the people to live in a more modern way. So although the people on the continent are still in the sun, they're also still under colonization, they're still under modernization, they're still under industrialization. So education has started to evolve them into what? Leaving the farms, all right? Going out to the cities, trying to get business, educating and getting their degrees and then getting better jobs, right? And with the better jobs becomes, now you're buying your homes, you're working in air-conditioned spaces, you're wearing the nice clothes and the nice suits and everything, so you're covering your body, all right? And now, because you're working all the time, now you start to open up space for fast food, all right? And so now you're going to some of these fast food spots as well so that you can get back to work off of your lunch break. And so now you start to see that as you start to evolve into a modern man and starting to evolve in your education and started to evolve in your industrialization and starting to evolve into your modernization, that you start to leave behind certain aspects that benefited you as a species, okay? And so again, this is what we're talking about. When you take a person out of their climate, it can mean everything. Not only just, again, plants, animals, and food, but we're also talking about your indigenous education, right? Your indigenous education. Different from what you're reading in the books, right? And keeping things going as far as your ancestral lineage is concerned, as far as farming techniques and all these different aspects that we were doing. We were always closer to the sun in those times. We didn't wear a whole lot of covering, right? So we got sun in all different types of spaces in our bodies that kept us healthy. We was exposed to the sun. The sun was giving us downloads and information. And that's how we were able to obviously thrust this whole human species into where we are today. But now that species is getting weaker just due to it being out of that particular climate and not exposing itself to more outdoor activities as needed. And so now you're starting to get a decline in the people of color because they're just simply not moving enough, not exercising enough, and not being exposed to the sun enough, and honestly, not eating enough hot foods as well. So this whole dynamic of changing the diet has really started to bring us down. Now what we do is we go eat high sodium foods, and then we go and right behind it and we order high sugary drinks, right? So have you ever seen a person in a wing place where they're ordering lemon pepper wings, they're sprinkling lemon pepper seasoning on the fries, and then they want a peach lemonade with no ice, right? Peach lemonade soda with no ice, right? And so you get this all the time, all right? So you're eating a high sodium diet with high sugar drinks behind it, and you're just causing this eruption of high blood sugar and hypernatremia in the system, okay? And these are things that we can avoid simply by using up the stuff that we're putting into the body, and really start to fixate on energy intake versus energy expenditure, and really start to make sure that we're having tasks in our day-to-day basis that are keeping us moving around, keeping us sweating, and making us use the energy that we're putting into our bodies, man. And a lot of this has been lost through that particular transition from one place to another. And we're not understanding how this coldness over here, all right, or wherever you are, how cold plays a part on weakening the body of the indigenous people, all right? How sugars, how salts play a role in weakening the health of the indigenous people, all right? And so you need to know that stuff, because if you don't, it's going to wreak havoc, as it has always will wreak it, until we start re-educating ourselves on how climate and how food combinations and how all of these things are going to play a factor in either making you the lion or making you the tiger, and depending on which climate you're in, man. So I didn't want to make this video long, but I definitely wanted to make it strong. You guys, go and look at more of our YouTube videos about this subject matter. We love you, man, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Please go tell somebody about your homie HerbMan. And until next time, love HerbMan. Yes, sir.
Yo, 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 good people. Welcome to the HerbMan Show.